Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to Family and Finance. My name is Rose Joshua. Today we continue our House Poor series. Today is part 2. So in part 1, we introduced the concept of being house poor, meaning having a house and not much money left after making house payments. Today, we're going to continue with how to save yourself a lot of stress by actually pre-calculating your GDSR, your TDSR, so that way you can actually know ahead of time before you make an offer, just so you save yourself a lot of running around, okay? So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get right into it. I'll say, if you have not yet bought your property, for your home, please pay good attention because this will really help you to take out a lot of the guesswork, okay? So sharing my screen, today is House Poor Part 2. We're using the same pictures we did last time. Really nice house, but the owners, are just living from paycheck to paycheck and struggling with the rest of life. So, how do you pre-calculate your GDSR, your TDSR? Again, GDSR is gross debt service ratio, and TD is total debt service ratio. You can go, if you have not watched video number 1, go to part 1 and watch that. It introduces the concepts. So today we want to help you to understand your mortgage pre-qualification process. What is it that your mortgage broker is doing behind the scenes to help you qualify for that mortgage? And can you actually have the knowledge? I mean, the idea is for us to have the knowledge to understand what's happening and to help ourselves with making offers that we know are likely to be approved, okay? So when you apply for pre-approval, the mortgage broker comes to you and says, bring this, bring that, bring this, bring that. So what are they asking for and why are they asking for them? So we need to understand that. So they will ask you first to send them your notice of assessment, and that's your CRA statement after you have filed your taxes. And what are they looking for there is income confirmation, all right? Then they ask you to send them your job letter, again, income. They ask you to send your pay stubs. The reason they ask for pay stub in addition to job letter, I think most of us know, is because I want to be sure that you're currently employed. Because somebody can have a job letter from 3 months ago and they don't have a job now. So no pay stub from last month, no pay stub from 2 weeks ago. So they use the pay stubs to actually pin down the job currency, meaning that the job is still active. It's not a job that's not there, right? Then they ask for your bank statements, and there they're looking for your income again. They're looking for bill payments because bank statements show bills that you're paying month after month after month. And then they're also looking for evidence of your down payment. So that's that. And then they pull your credit. When they pull your credit, they're really taking a good look at your debts, okay? So all of that goes into pre-approval. And if you do have an offer, then they say, okay, bring the offer. Let's see what we can let's see what we can do with the offer. All right. So there's 2 principal axes that they're investigating, and one is income, big deal, big deal. And the other one is your debts. So let's say you've met with a realtor, and again, I recommend use a realtor. It doesn't cost you money to buy. We're using a realtor, they save you a lot of money because they can negotiate for you. So let's say you and your realtor go around, you go north, south, east, west, you comb the city, and you find a place that you really like. And this is the mistake that most of us make. We do all of that running around before we go meet the mortgage broker. So that's putting the cart well before the horse, okay? Because you can do all that running around and then it's bad news from the mortgage broker. So you do want to do your homework, on the mortgage side before you start running around to look at houses that you whet your appetite. You really like that house, but unfortunately you cannot pay for it, right? So let's say we do put the cart before the horse, which is what most people do. You find a place, you make an offer. Okay, you make an offer, and then you take the offer to your mortgage broker and say, here, I made an offer on this house, can you help me with the qualification? All right, so then we would then have what is called an MLS listing, which is the multi-listing service from the realtor, from the seller. So the MLS listing will tell us the price of the house, among other things. There's a lot of information on your MLS sheet, but they tell us the price of the home, and they tell us the property tax. They tell us the estimated heating cost if it's a condo. If it's not a condo, you don't find heating on the MLS. And if it's a condo, you find the condo fees as well. Your down payment is not on the MLS listing, but we have an MLS, and you know exactly how much you have for down payment. So based on all of that, we want to calculate the GDSR and the TDSR. Now, you will notice that the down payment is not in those calculations, but it's important that we carry the down payment along. We're going to deal with the down payment a little later, not in this video, actually, but in part 4, I believe. Okay, so we have the MLS sheet. We have made an offer. We know the price of the home, the property tax, estimated heating, and condo fee. So now the GDSR, TDSR formula, again, if you have not reviewed video number 1, go back and look at it. So the formula is for GDSR is monthly mortgage, which is your principal and interest, monthly P&I, plus your property taxes, plus your heating, plus half condo fee, all of that divided by the monthly gross income. For the TDSR, all the numbers then including, in addition, other debts divided by the monthly gross income. You can do monthly, you can do annual, but just be consistent, it comes to exactly the same number. Okay. So step number 1 is you calculate the monthly P&I. So again, that's your monthly mortgage. So number 1, monthly P&I. Number 2, property taxes. Number 3, the heating cost, and then the condo fee, and then other debts, right? So we calculate the monthly P&I. So I have a case study here. Let's say we have a house that is $400,000. Your down payment is 5%. The remaining 95% plus CMHC fee is $395,200. So you put that into your favorite mortgage calculator, and your monthly payment is $2,310. Okay, $2,310 is how much we're gonna work with, and it's amortized over 25 years. So step number 2A, you estimate your heating and property taxes. Okay, so for heating, now in Alberta, we have UCA Helps. There's a cost comparison tool in the UCA Helps that helps us with Alberta bill estimates. So if I go there, so here's a tool cost comparison tool, and I'm looking at residential, city, town, and postal code. I go is Edmonton. All right. And then I want heating. So I want natural gas, and I want the lowest rate and all of that. Okay, so I go okay. So if you go to UCA Helps, play with that tool. If you live in Alberta, if you live outside Alberta, find out what's happening in your province and play, be very aware of how much to expect for your heating bill, and also aware of what the lenders are using for their heating costs. So in this case, I'm looking at the lowest is around $91, and it goes a bit, well, some of them are a little lower, 102, 98, 87, and so on. Some of them may not be in your city, but you need to find out what's available in your city. So I'm seeing here a lot of 80s, 90s, and 100s. So I'm going to assume for this house that the heating is about $100. Now remember that the heating is spread out. So in the winter months, it's higher, you pay more. In the summer months, you pay less because, heating your house in the winter is a lot more intense. Okay, so use that tool to get your heating, and then in the city of Edmonton, where I live in Edmonton, Alberta. Now, depending on where you live, the property taxes work differently. All right. So if you in Edmonton, the city has this property tax estimator. So I'm actually going to go there, and it's based on the price of your home. So let's say you have a home that's $400,000. Estimate tax, they'll tell you the municipal tax, the provincial education tax, your tax for 2024, and your monthly, in this case, is $339, so which I approximate to $340. So let's say your house is not $400K, but is now $500K. So $500,000, it goes up to $424. Let's say your house is $200K. Then it drops to $169, about $170. So play with that tool, and depending on the city you're in, find out what they do for taxes. You're buying a home, and a home is, in most cases, the most expensive asset that most people have. So do a lot of research before you go jump into that offer, because a lot of things go into the mortgage approval. So now here's the property tax estimate. So we're for 400,000 is $339, which I approximate to $340, and then you add your condo fees. So let's say Mr. and Mrs. Ade are going to buy this home for $400K. They have 5% down payment. Their interest rate is 5% on the mortgage, and is 25 years amortization. They both earn $50,000 each. And so combined family income is $100,000 per annum. This is actually high than a lot of people would have. So 100K between the husband and wife. So their gross monthly income is 100,000 divided by 12, which is 8,333. And we calculated the mortgage using our mortgage tool. We looked at the property tax, so I'm assuming Edmonton, and average heating cost $100, no condo fee. Okay, so take a look at the numbers, and we'll plug them all into the formula for GDSR and TDSR. So then for TDSR, we need to calculate other ongoing debts. So there's a way your mortgage broker actually calculates the debts. I'll show you how that is done right away. So if you go back to your CMHC, which I showed you last video in part 1, if you go back to your CMHC and how to calculate, what is it now? GDS and TDSR. So there's a section there that talks about other debt obligations. So in that section, they tell us that for credit cards and lines of credit, they take 3% of the outstanding balance. And for anyone that is secured, then they amortize it over 25 years at the interest rate of the contract. Okay. So what that means in plain English is that, let's say somebody has credit card totals. You have 2-3 credit cards, and your total is $10,000. Then the mortgage broker would add for debts 3% of the 10,000. So that's $300. Then for a secured line of credit, then they will do the amortization. So for example, let's say you have a secured line of credit for $10,000. All right. Let's say you go to a Loan Shark. Well, no, Loan Shark I'm actually not using here because the interest rate I'm stating here is 12%. Loan Sharks will charge you way more, sometimes 30, sometimes 40%. So be careful there. But anyway, so let's say you have a $10,000 line of credit secured with your car. So that means your car is a collateral. Then they would actually stretch it out to 25 years at 12%, and your monthly payment there will be 105.32. So let's say Mr. and Mrs. Ade have some credit cards, 10,000, 3% is 300. That secured line of credit at 105. Car payments, 600. It's very easy for car payments. Some people have car payments more than maybe $800. Student loan, your Alberta loan or your Ontario loan plus Canada National together, 500. And again, that's on the low side. And total consumer debts then will be the $300 plus $100, which is $400 plus 6 plus 5, so that's $1,500. 1505.32, but I've brought it, rounded it down to 1,500. Okay, so that's on the debt side, and we need this for the TDSR. So now, after all of that data gathering, all right, I hope you're following along with me, following with your calculator. And if you are looking at buying a house, you know exactly, you can come back to this video, watch it and say, okay, this is my credit bureau. This is how many credit cards I have. This is how much is my total for credit card. This is how much I have for the price of the home, for the property tax. And then you calculate it. Calculate it before you go make an offer, because you don't want to make an offer and then you get embarrassed later when they say, oh, sorry, you don't qualify. And then you start all over again. It's a waste of time, and it's a waste of emotions too, because sometimes we see some of these houses, we really, really, really love them. We wish we could get them. We can't sleep at night because we're in love with this house, and then we can't get it. So let's save ourselves all of that by just doing the math first, okay? So now we come back to this house, 400K. So the GDSR is the 2310, which is the monthly PMI that we ran through our mortgage calculator. 340 is the property tax. $100 is a heating. And you divide all of that by the income. So if you pull your calculator, 2310, 340, 100 divided by 8333, 33%. This is good. So that GDSR is good, but be very careful. And I've seen this happen again and again and again in my practice, where somebody goes to the bank and the bank says, oh yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, we can qualify you, go bring an offer. Meanwhile, they didn't pull your credit. They didn't pull the credit. They just say, okay, what's your income? What kind of house are you looking to buy? And then they just do the GDSR. And oh yeah, you're good, go bring an offer. And I've seen it many times when we now take the offer and then they pull the credit and then they go, oh, sorry. Yeah, I didn't know your credit bureau was so bad. Crap like that. So, it's very annoying when they do that, but be very careful. So now you know that if they don't pull your credit, the number they're giving you is not accurate, because right now this GDSR looks good. All right, but that's just level 1, because now you need to pass it through the TDSR, which is now where they pull your credit and say, okay, this is how much credit you have, right? So if you now add the credit, the number is now 51%, which is way over the highest recommendation of 44%. And then they decline the mortgage. And then it gets very depressing, right? Very depressing when that mortgage is declined, because you've invested so much time, so much, energy into it. Now you have to go back to the seller and say, okay, you know what, I'm so sorry. I can no longer proceed with this. And sometimes you've already spent money, you've done home inspection and all of that, spent money and time, and it's just a waste of time if we don't know ahead of time how these things work. So please, rewatch this video, make sure you know the math, and calculate things before you go. All right. So now, in this case, because it's declined, it's at 51, one of the things that the mortgage broker can tell you to do is say, okay, your bills may be a bit high, go back and pay off one of the credit cards or both credit cards or half of the line of credit, stuff like that. All right. So they tell you to go back and pay off some things. We're going to take a deeper look at what you can do to reduce your TDSR and GDSR in video number 3. But for now, let's say the mortgage broker says, okay, pay off some bills. And then you bring the bills down to $750, then you can be approved. That's why many times when you go for mortgage approval, the broker is saying, go and pay this off, go and pay that off, go and pay that one off, go and pay that one off. Why? Because they're trying to bring down your TDSR. They're trying to make your TDSR fit below 44%. All right. So that's really what's happening there. All right. So now let's say, so this was using $400,000. What if Mr. and Mrs. Ade decide, oh, you know, the $400,000 house, that's the houses that we see, they're not big enough. They, you know, want this, we want that one. We want everything for nothing. You know, many times that's what we want. We want everything for nothing, right? So we want a bigger house. We want more garage. We want more garden, more backyard, more this and more that. So anyway, so now we want to get a $500,000 house. Remember, this couple combined have an income of $100,000, $100K, right? But there's so many things that then come into play whether they can buy this $500,000 house or not. So at $500,000 with 5% down, the monthly payment becomes $2,887. So it shifts from $2,310, it goes up by $570. Okay, so it shifts from $2,310 to $2,887, and then the property tax goes up to $424. Okay, so with the price of the house, everything starts going up. And then your heating cost goes up because it's a bigger house, bigger space. Okay, so now we're down, we're now at, again, income has not changed. Monthly payments is now, mortgage P&I is now $2,888. Property tax $424, heating $150, ongoing bills $1,500. So you plug that into the GDSR formula and it's a no. And you plug that into the TDSR formula and that's a decline. All right, so again, we may want the house, but we gotta do the math. Okay, and also we need to understand why it is that the mortgage broker try this lender, try the other lender, try the other lender, and still come back and say, sorry, we couldn't help you. You need to go get another house. Get it, you know, make an offer on a lower price property. So, you know, that way you can sort of sympathize or empathize with your mortgage broker and see all that they're going through trying to make that the numbers fit. Okay, so that is the end of part 2. For part 3, we're going to look at GDSR, TDSR for condos. So all of this parts for today, we looked at GDSR, TDSR for non-condos because we didn't calculate anything with respect to condo fees. So condos are a little bit different. So we're going to do that in part 3. In part 3, the questions we're going to be asking ourselves will be, how do you pre-calculate those numbers for condos? When you're shopping for condos, what should you be looking for? Okay, what can you do to help yourself to drop those numbers before you actually make the offer on a condo? And then we're going to wrap up this specific section with strategies you can apply to reduce your GDSR and your TDSR. So see you in part 3. And if you need to do a one-on-one, if you're shopping for a home, you want to discuss some of these concepts with me, definitely reach out and we can do a one-on-one. And if this has been helpful, please subscribe and share with your friends and family, everybody you know. And thank you very much for subscribing. And my number is 780-680-1334. Reach out to me and let's have a one-on-one. Thank you so much. I really hope that this, this series is helping us to articulate and think before we leap. So this is thinking before we leap, because we're in a country where everything is computerized, everything is by number. They throw in numbers and then the computer will say approved or computer will say not approved. So we need to understand how it works so that we can help ourselves, so the computer will say approved more often than it says not approved for us. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. But yeah, thank you so very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have yourselves a good day. God bless you. See you in part 3. Okay.